Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Mani Shresht from Haryana School of Business, GJ University of Science and Technology, Hisar. Today we are going to talk on module External Written Communication from the paper Business Communication. Let's have a look on the learning objectives of this module. The first objective is to understand the purpose of external communication, then to know the tools for external written communication, and finally to understand the relevance of each tool of external written communication. Before understanding the external written communication, let's have an understanding about what is external communication. Every organization has to interact with its external environment, and while communicating with their external environment, they have to exchange information. This information is exchanged with external stakeholders such as customers, intermediaries, suppliers, shareholders, media, government, and society in general. For that kind of communication, an organization can choose a written mode or an oral mode. For the purpose of this particular module, we are focusing on the written mode only. So, let's try to understand what is external written communication. It is people and organizations operating external to business are contacted using written communication tools. The purpose of external written communication is to extend information to external stakeholders and persuade them to act in a desired manner. For doing external written communication, we are having few options like business letters, press releases, notices, and tenders, etc. First, talk about business letter. Business letter is one of the most widely used method for communicating by an organization. It is being used as a persuasive strategy by the organization to convince their stakeholders. Nowadays, with the advent of technology, business letters are being replaced by emails. So we can say that email is a business letter in electronic form. Now, to serve a different purpose, a different kind of business letter can be used. Like we can use an inquiry letter for inquiring something, we can use a reply letter to reply to an inquiry, we can use a positive newsletter or a negative newsletter. At the time of writing a business letter, two broad decisions has to be made. One decision is related to the structure and layout, which highlights the major components of a letter and how these components are being arranged in a letter. The other decision is related to the context, that means for what purpose we are writing a business letter, whether we want to convey some information or we want to inquire something. That changes the context of the letter and the type of business letter. Every business letter writing must follow all the principles of effective writing such as clarity, conciseness, completeness, courtesy, correctness, concreteness, and consideration. There are four main components of a business letter. These are address, title and salutation, body of letter, and closing. Address is the starting point of a letter. It provides information about the sender of the letter, including name, designation, name of the organization, and place of the organization, along with PIN code. This address is followed by the details about the recipient of the letter, including name, designation, name of the organization, and place of the organization, along with PIN code. Next part of this component is to mention date. The date has to be mentioned in a particular format like complete name of the month, then date, and finally complete year. For example, you have to write November 10, 2001. Under the component title and salutation, in order to standardize and remove ambiguity, you can address recipients as Mr. or Miss. Also, Dear Sir or Dear Madam could be used for official correspondence. If you are communicating with the recipient frequently, then you can use Dear Mr. Raghu, that means Dear Mr. and the name of the person to give a personal and informal touch. The component body of letter is its main part. It can be further divided into 3 sections. The first section points out towards the purpose of the letter and mentions the reason for writing the letter. The second section conveys the details and describes the supportive information for section 1. Finally, the last section discusses the expected actions or reactions for statements made under the letter. In the end, the closing component of a business letter is equally important. It is also known as complimentary close, where a single sentence followed by a phrase is mentioned. For example, looking for an early meeting, followed by yours sincerely. After a complimentary close, signature is marked and name of the sender is written. If the sender wishes, he or she can add few more information like contact number or email address. Once the components of a business letter are clear, it is important to decide about the layout of the letter. A layout of a letter is considered as the appearance of a letter. How the information would be arranged in a letter is decided by its layout. Although it is totally the decision of an organization regarding the appearance of a letter, still few widely accepted styles are available. By observing business letters worldwide, few similarities of letter writing styles can be observed. Few of the accepted letter layouts are indented, semi-indented, hanging paragraph, full block, semi-block, and modified block styles. On the basis of popularity, full block and modified block style of layout are widely accepted. The characteristics of a full block layout are that all the information on the letter is left aligned and no punctuation related formalities are followed. Let's look at a sample and an example of full block layout. Here is the sample. As we can see in the sample, at the top of the letter is letterhead, where name of the organization who is sending the letter is written along with the address. Then we are having sender's address, that is left aligned because it is a block style. Address line 1, address line 2 of the sender's address, followed by spacing, then date. Remember, you have to write the date in a particular format. That means you have to write complete month, then date, comma, then complete year. After that, again you have to give spacing. Then you have to write receiver's name, followed by designation and address lines. Then spacing is given. That is followed by salutation. As mentioned earlier, you can write Dear Sir or Madam. Then you have to write a subject. A subject is a specific title line about the purpose on which you want to write a letter. Then starts your main body. We also call it body paragraph. Here you introduce your issue, you start your letter, then there is a mid paragraph followed by a complimentary close like sincerely yours in this particular format. Then there is a sender's signature followed by sender's name. If required, you can add enclosures at the end of the letter. Then let's see how this format is actually used in the form of an example. In this example, the letterhead is Hira Retail Stores. Then we are having the address of the sender followed by a date. Here the date is May 7, 2008. That is followed by the name of the receiver and his address. Then there is salutation, dear sir. Subject is incomplete delivery of the order. Then the letter main body starts. Here the main body is mentioning, we thank you for the prompt delivery of sports goods against order number so and so. Then there is a complimentary close where you have written the last line, hoping for a continuing fruitful relationship, followed by a close, yours faithfully, the name of the sender and the designation of the sender in this particular case, and here the enclosure is copy of purchase order. Another popular style of layout is modified full block. In a modified full block layout style, the sender's address, date, complimentary closing, signature, name of sender and designation are placed to the right of the center of the page. Rest of the information is presented in a block style format. The example presented earlier can be written as per the modified block layout in the following manner. Here we can see on the right side of the screen, we can see the address of the sender. Similarly, at the bottom of the screen, we can see that complimentary close, name and signatures are right aligned. That is the only difference between a full block style and modified full block style. Otherwise, all the rules are similar in both the styles. As mentioned earlier, there are various types of business letters. A business letter is of a particular type when it solves a specific purpose. For example, we can have a sales letter, an inquiry letter, a reply letter, an order letter, a complaint letter, positive newsletter, and negative newsletters. Let's start with a sales letter. The purpose of a sales letter is to persuade customers or other stakeholders to act in a desired manner. It also acts as an advertisement in a letter form. So, if an organization wants to convince its potential buyers, they can use a sales letter as an advertisement. A sales letter must discuss about the product and benefits offered to the prospective customers. It must also mention the advantages for making a quick decision about the purchase. And finally, it must possess an attractive opening. Let's now discuss about an inquiry letter. The purpose of an inquiry letter is to gain information from other organizations. Generally, an inquiry letter is sought for trading purposes. Every inquiry letter must clearly specify about the information required, the duration within which information is required, and the format in which it is required. Let's see whether this example possesses all the qualities of a good sales letter. In this letter, we can see that it is having an attractive opening. It is evident from the first line. Here comes an excellent opportunity to win wonderful prizes from J&L Cosmetics. Secondly, this letter generates the interest of readers because it is mentioning the only simple thing you have to do is to provide the names, addresses, and phone numbers of 3 of your friends who use cosmetics, and that's true. So it is an interest generating wording. Also, it talks about the benefits offered by the company. Here the benefits are you can win prizes, where the first prize is 1 year supply of J&L Cosmetics, second is Sony Bravia LED television, and consolation prizes. And at the end, it is having a mention about the advantages of making a quick decision. In the line that if you respond quickly, you are entitled for a grand prize, that is a free trip for two to Sydney, Australia. So as we can see from this particular sales letter, all the characteristics of a good sales letters are incorporated, and definitely it would be considered as an excellent sales letter. Once an inquiry letter is sent, the receiver of the letter has to create a reply letter. The purpose of reply letter is to respond the letter of inquiry. An effective reply letter can convert an inquiry into an order. Generally, a reply letter is followed by clarification and eventually an order. Every reply letter must provide exact and accurate information about the queries mentioned in the inquiry letter. Let's look at this example. As per the requirement of a good inquiry letter, a letter must clearly specify about the information required, the duration within which information is required, and the format in which it is required. Now, this particular inquiry letter seeks information whether the recipient is able to supply the required goods or not. Now, here the line is mentioned, kindly inform us if you can supply the following sports goods in a month's time. Now, here month is a duration which is given. The description of items are given and the quantity required is also mentioned against each description item. Now, from the point of view of the sender of the inquiry letter, they are requiring that a recipient of the letter must answer the queries raised. The queries should be supplied in the format that the recipient should mention the individual prices along with mode of payment, discounts, and other terms and conditions for the supply of required goods. A positive newsletter is used to convey pleasant information. It is also known as a good newsletter. Generally, a positive newsletter is using a direct approach. A direct approach means it is always important to straightaway tell the good news to the receiver without any delay. A positive newsletter is written in certain situations like acknowledging orders, approval of credit requested, granting of favors, letter of appointment, and letter of appreciation. So, it is very important to present best news first in a positive newsletter. Also, answer all the queries with complete details. Mention the personal opinion of the sender to give a personalized touch to that positive newsletter. Now, we have an example of a reply letter. This letter has answered all the queries made by sender in the required format. The inquiry was about availability of goods, prices, duration of delivery, discounts offered, and mode of payment. In the letter, we can see that all the goods required are available as yes is written against the availability column. Also, the duration of delivery is mentioned 30 days from the receipt of the order. If order is given within next 5 days, a special discount of 7% is being offered on the total billed amount. As far as mode of payment is concerned, the mode of payment mentioned here is checks only. And also, it is expected that full payment should be made within a week's time of the delivery of the order. When both the parties, that is buyer and seller, are interested in entering into a contract, an order letter is written. From the buyer's point of view, it is called as purchase order, and from the seller's side, it becomes a sales order. When both purchase order and sales order are matching with each other, a contract is created. As these letters are having a legal binding, once contract is created, detailed description of product, price, quantity, mode of payment, time of delivery, and specification has to be mentioned. Let's see an example of an order letter. In this example, we can clearly see that it fulfills all the qualities of a good order letter. Here, the price is mentioned, quantity is mentioned, amount is mentioned, then the total amount is mentioned. Terms and conditions which are discussed in previous communication are also mentioned, and this fulfills all the requirements of a particular order letter. A complaint letter is written when there exists any error in the total process of buying and selling. It happens when expectations of buyer and sellers are not met after the transaction. A complaint can be written by a buyer as well as a seller. Reason for buyer writing a complaint letter could be delayed delivery of order, order not in proper shape, wrong order delivery, and difference in terms and conditions as per prior discussion. On the other hand, a seller can write a complaint letter regarding non-payment, less payment, payment made under different mode, disagreement over claims made by the buyer. Letter of complaint must clearly mention the point of discord. It should also mention the expected action to be taken by the other party. A letter of complaint should use a polite language in order to prevent any kind of damage to the future dealings. As we can see from the example, all the characteristics of a good complaint letter are being mentioned here. Here, a polite language is being used. The content of discord is mentioned clearly, and the sought action is mentioned. Here, the action required is we request you to look into the matter on a priority basis and ensure the speedy delivery of our order. Also, the polite language is being used so that the long-term relationship between the buyer and the seller would not be ruined. This positive news letter is about selection of a candidate. Let's see how this positive news is delivered. Dear Mr. Kumar, in reference to your application and subsequent interview, I am glad to inform that you have been selected for the post of junior engineer. Please accept my heartiest congratulations, and I wish you all success for your new assignment. Please do confirm your convenient date of joining by July 7, 2005 with best wishes. Here the sender of the information has congratulated the receiver. That gives a personal touch to the message, which is an important part of a positive newsletter. Negative newsletters are those letters that carry unpleasant information. They are also known as bad newsletters. The purpose of a negative newsletter is to convey a negative news without hurting the relationship. The receiver of the information must consider you fair and reasonable while reading a negative newsletter. Generally, a negative newsletter is written for refusing the desired information, rejection of a proposal, inability to fulfill an order, refusing adjustment or a claim, and declining requests for favors. In a negative newsletter, indirect approach is to be used. That means always start the letter with a pleasant note. Then, the next paragraph, try to explain the reason why that news is negative, and then suggest few of the alternatives to overcome the problem, and always close the message on a positive note. In a negative newsletter, it is important to notice that in the beginning of the message, a pleasant or neutral thing needs to be conveyed to provide a cushion to the reader to handle the negative part. In this particular example, the pleasant starting is: we express our gratitude to you for timely providing us the names and addresses of two guarantors. We are glad to inform you that both of them opined very high about your firm and having full faith in its progress. Such kind of pleasant beginning then must be followed by a negative news in the next paragraph. In this particular example, the second paragraph states that we regret to inform you that we are not in a position to fulfill your order on credit, as we are dealing with you for the first time and it is against our company policy to execute a new dealing on credit. It is important to mention here that in a negative newsletter, an indirect approach should be followed. Type of externalization is press release. On many occasions, it has to communicate with external stakeholders to provide information or clarification related to a particular written correspondence to protect the company's image. A person with authority to do so prepares a press release. A press release has to be drafted and unmet. A press release, you must possess few characteristics such as: while preparing a press release, it must have few characteristics as newsworthiness, clarity, brevity, appropriate heading. Once the release is ready, it is sent to the newspaper at discretion of the editor of the matter as or options. It is an example by Thomas Cook India Limited and India Post regarding collaboration in foreign exchange and travel. A public notice is regarding an important announcement issue. The purpose of a public notice is to inform all the people concerned with a given issue. A public notice must get an instant attention of a reader. Just like a press release, it must possess characteristics like brevity, mentioning important information, and a suitable heading. This public notice is issued by Xerox Corporation informing about registered trademarks of the organization. Many companies also use a special written communication, that is, invitation to tender and bid. It is a special kind of notice. Tenders actually seek submission of estimates from interested parties for completion of advertised work. As per the guidelines, any party fulfilling the norms can respond to such communication for further processing. While drafting a tender invitation, utmost care has to be taken. It must follow the format and guidelines prescribed for such kind of communication. Here is an example of a tender issued by Kandla Port Trust for the work improving the infrastructure facilities inside cargo jetty area, widening of roads and providing RCC pavement. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. An external communication is required for generating business and building image. It is always formal in nature. In external written communication, people and organizations operating outside of the business are contacted using written communication tools. Most common ways of communicating with external stakeholders using written method are business letters, press releases, tenders, etc. Each option is having a specific purpose to serve. Depending upon their suitability to situation, a particular option is exercised over the other. Business letters can be of several types depending upon the purpose for which it is written. In case of writing a business letter, two broad things need to be kept in mind. First, structure and layout of the letter, and the second, the context for which letter is written. Thank you.